Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Mondays with Michele video. This week's topic, transcribing tips. We'll look at line numbering, changing case, and saving frequently used words, phrases, or paragraphs for easy retrieval. Let's get started. So before you start transcribing a document, there's a few steps that you need to take to make sure everything is set up properly. So let me just show you what I typically do. So what I'm showing you here is an extract from a will that I downloaded. So before I start transcribing the document, I would print a copy of the document or make a photocopy of the document. I would draw lines on it, separating each line of text, and I would number each line. And this will make it much easier for me to transcribe the document, as I can just follow along that line of text and make sure I don't end up transcribing information from the wrong line. What I would then do after I've manually numbered each line on a copy of the source document, I would then do some setup in the Word document I'm creating, which will actually be the transcript of this will. I would set automatic line numbering options so that my transcript lines are numbered to match this source that I'm working from. I would set my font upper and lowercase defaults, because you've probably noticed Word is going to try to capitalize the first word of every line as if it was a sentence. And you can see from my source, most of the words at the beginning of each line are lowercase. So I need to deal with that. And I'm also going to take the opportunity, as I'm typing in the information for this will, to save any chunks of repeated text. So instead of rekeying the same information over and over, I could save those chunks for easy retrieval later. And this is particularly helpful if I'm going to be transcribing quite a few wills, because a lot of the wills will have standard language at the beginning, at the end, or certain phrases that are continually used. And if I could save those chunks of text and retrieve them with just one or two clicks of the mouse, it's going to make the transcription much simpler, and the process will take much less time. So this is what my transcribed will looks like for the first 8 lines. And you can see it is a word for word representation of my source. I am typing in exactly what I see in the source document: punctuation, spelling, position of words, capitalization, marks on the page, however it appears in the source. That's what I type in. For me, the hardest thing is to spell the words as they appear in the document and not automatically correct the spelling to our current conventions. But a transcript needs to be word for word, letter for letter, mark for mark, a match to the original. So let's look at the features that you can use in Word to make this process a little bit easier. Many of you are probably familiar with Word's built-in numbering features for numbered lists. And you can find that on the home menu under the paragraph section, this 1, 2, 3 drop down. If you hover over it, it says numbering, create a numbered list. And that's what I've used here. It automatically numbers each paragraph. So whenever I press enter, I'm creating a new paragraph and it will automatically extend the numbering. So if I now press enter, this is a new step, and I press enter, this is another step. You could use this to number your lines in a transcript, but the problem is it's really numbering paragraphs, not lines. As you can see on step 1, I've actually got 3 lines of information. It's attaching the number to the first line of that step only because it does not renumber until I press enter. The second issue with using the list numbering is it's robbing space from my typing line. You'll notice the position of the numbers is at the beginning of the typing line. So I'm losing some space to actually type my information. Ideally, I'd like these lines to be in the margin to the left of my typing line. Fortunately, Word does have a line numbering feature that does just that. So let's take a look at how we can access it. So instead of the home menu, we are going to go to the layout menu. And there is a feature called line numbers. Now, if I click this drop-down arrow, right now you can see my document is set to have no line numbers. Watch what happens if I just click continuous. It has assigned line numbers to everything in the document, starting from 1 and going right through. You can also have it restart the line count at the beginning of each page. So if I choose that option, page 3 starts at line 1. Page 2 is starting at line 1. So again, depending on the document you are transcribing, that's something that might be useful. Think if you were doing census records and each page of the census schedule started numbering at line 1 and went on from there. It might be really handy to be able to control that numbering in that fashion. The other challenge, though, is sometimes it might be handy to be able to refer to a particular line number and only transcribe a portion of that document. So for example, what if you were transcribing a ship's passenger list and you were transcribing passenger number 489 to 496? I could set this so that my starting number, instead of 1, I can go to line numbering options, click on line numbers, and actually set the starting number. I could say, let's start at 489. And I could still leave it as restart each page, or I could make it continuous. So it would start at 489 and just count up from there. And here's what I get. You also want to be able to select where you want those line numbers to be assigned. So for instance, right now it's assigning them to my headings, it's assigning them to other items that I might not want to line number. So I could actually say, I do not want line numbering on any of this text. So if I select that text and go back into line numbers, I can say suppress for those paragraphs. And it has removed line numbering from those paragraphs and has started the count for this page at this next section. And you notice it is numbering every physical line on the page, even though for step 1 here, I didn't press enter until after the word line. But it knows that this one paragraph has 3 lines. So it is counting the physical lines of text, which is what you want for your transcript. Let's take a look at, I'm just going to turn off the line numbers. Let's take a look at what we can do with the uppercase and lowercase defaults. And you may be asking, why is this an issue? Well, let's say this is my transcript. And here is what happens when I am typing in the text without changing the uppercase, lowercase settings. So if I was typing in lines from the will and I want to now continue this sentence, let's say I'm going to type, I leave my belongings to my, and the next line is supposed to say son Ambrose. I'm going to type son, all lowercase, but the minute I press the space bar, the computer and the word program automatically switches it to uppercase because it knows I have started a new line. It thinks I really want to do a sentence. You're going to spend a lot of time trying to fix those capitals and manually changing them back to lowercase. So what I prefer to do is right from the start, I'm going to put my cursor where I'm going to type. I go to the home menu and I click on this capital A, lowercase a, which says change case. And if I click on this drop down arrow, I can set it to sentence case, all lowercase, all uppercase, capitalize each word like you would in a title, or I can have it switch between upper and lower. I'm going to set it to lowercase. And so watch what happens when I now type. So I have set this particular paragraph to lowercase. So watch what happens when I now press enter to create a new line. And I'm going to type son Ambrose. You notice it did not automatically capitalize the word son. And if I now were to type an uppercase word, it thinks I want to revert back to sentence case. And now it will capitalize. But the minute I go back and just correct that one entry, if I keep going, it now knows, no, we are doing lowercase only. and it will continue using just the case that I am specifying. So if I'm typing my words in lowercase, it will show lowercase. And as I said, when you look at the transcript of the will that I created, most of the words at the beginning of the lines are lowercase. So setting your default to lowercase means every time you press enter to get a new line for your transcript, you are not going to have that problem of that first word defaulting to uppercase. Now, the feature that saves me the most time when I'm doing any kind of transcript is the ability to save phrases, words, paragraphs of text that repeat frequently, and being able to then easily retrieve them with just a few clicks of the mouse. And let me show you how that works. Word has two features. One is called Autotext, the other is called Quick Parts Gallery. So let's look at the Quick Parts Gallery first. So here I have some text from a will. This is the last will and testament of me, Albany Renton of Leithley, in the County of York, farmer. And those of you who have transcribed wills know that that wording or similar wording is usually at the beginning of a lot of wills. So what I decided to do was come up with a standard phrase. So I've got, this is the last will and testament of me, and then I just put in red the word name of, and in red the word place, in the county of, and the word county, and then occupation. And what I'm going to do is save that and retrieve it as I need it when I'm transcribing all of my wills. And by putting in some red text, it's easy for me to spot those places where I have to replace the red text with the specific name of the individual, their town, their county, their occupation. And if I find the wording of a particular will doesn't quite match what I have here, I can edit it once I bring it into my document, but it saves the time of constantly typing in that same phrase over and over. So let me show you how you would save this information. I would type it into my document as I have here. I would select all of the words. I would go to the Insert menu, and all the way over on the right, we have this section called Quick Parts. And if I click on the Quick Parts arrow, go all the way to the bottom, it says Save Selection to Quick Part Gallery. So I would click that, and I get this Create New Building Block dialog box. And it's asking me for a name for this phrase. So I'm going to call it New Will. And I want it to be in the Quick Parts Gallery. So I leave that as Quick Parts. I could give it a category. I could say, you know what? I want to create a new category. I'm going to use a category that I've already created called wills. So all of my special saved phrases to do with transcribing wills, I'm going to keep in this wills category. I could write a description about what this is about, but I don't think I need to. I want to save this in my normal .dot file. That is the basic template. So when you just click on that image that says blank file to start a new document, you are using the normal .dot template. And by adding my phrase to that template, it means whenever I start a new document, these phrases are available to me. I'm then going to select how I want the content to be inserted. I could have it always appear in a new paragraph. I could have it appear in a new page. I just want it to appear wherever I happen to have clicked. So I'm going to put insert content only and click OK. And what it's done is it has now saved this phrase in this Quick Parts gallery. So now if I click on this Quick Parts dropdown, I have something that says new will. This is the phrase that I just saved. And if I click on this, it will insert it into my document. So let's see how that would work. So I'm typing, this is new text that I am typing, and I decide I want to insert that phrase that I saved into the document. I select it and it's put it right in, and it's inserted it right where my cursor was. I can now go back and say, well, instead of the word name, this is the will of John Smith of Hovingham in the county of York, and occupation farmer. Whoops. Farmer. So that is the Quick Parts gallery feature. You are basically saving text to appear as a list at the top of this drop-down, and you can choose whichever items you have saved to insert into your document. There's an even faster way of inserting text, and that's using Word's Autotext feature. It's the same idea, but instead of saving it to appear in the gallery, you are going to save it with a short one-word name, and you will type that name to automatically retrieve the text instead of having to go up and select it. So the saving process is similar. I would select the text that I want to save. I would go back to Quick Parts, but instead of going Save Selection to Quick Part Gallery, I'm going to select Autotext. And at the very bottom of this Autotext list, I have Save Selection to Autotext Gallery. And I'm going to click on that. And it brings up that same new building block dialog box. So I have to give it a one-word name. And I'm going to just call it Renton. My Renton wills. I'll call it Renton. And I'm going to put it in the Autotext gallery. I'll put it in my wills category, saving it to my normal template, inserting just that content, and I'm going to click OK. So now let me go to a new page. If I want to create a new will, And I might say, this is a new will. And now I want to insert that phrase that I saved. Instead of stopping what I am doing, moving the mouse, selecting quick parts, I can just type the name of that phrase. And you notice the minute I type the T, it looks at all of my saved phrases, and the fewest letters possible, it would pop up this message saying the phrase and asking me, is this the one I want? So I'm looking at the words, this is the last will and testament. It's showing me the beginning of that saved phrase. And if that's the right one, I just press enter and it's brought in that phrase. If what I'd wanted to do was type the word rent, I just keep going. No problem. But it's going to look at what I'm typing and constantly try to match to my saved phrases. And if I press enter when I'm given the option of putting in one of those phrases, it will bring in those saved chunks of text. And I found this was very handy when I was doing transcription of headstone information, because there were so many repeated phrases and so many Bible verses or quotes that were repeated from headstone to headstone. So if you take a look at all of the items I have saved for Autotext, most of these are tied to the work I was doing for headstone inscriptions. So I have phrases like son of the above, the dearly beloved wife of, who departed this life. And by automatically inserting these phrases, it not only saves you time, but it means you're not going to have the spelling mistakes that would otherwise creep in, because you are not having to manually rekey this information. So we've looked at how to save Autotext and quick parts, and really the difference is Autotext allows you to just type in the name of the item. The quick parts saves it to a gallery so that you can go and manually select it. So that's really the difference in usage. Let's look at how you change the information that you want to save. So for example, let's say I've typed in my phrase, this is the last will and testament, and I think, oh, I want to edit it. I really don't want the phrase to say last will and testament. I just want to say, this is the will of, and then the rest of it. So I want to replace the saved text with this new updated chunk. All I do is make my changes on my document, and I'm now going to go into the Insert tab, into Quick Parts, select Autotext, because this was an Autotext chunk that I was changing. I'm going to go all the way down, treat it as if I was saving a brand new selection. But the difference is I'm going to give it the exact same name as the existing chunk that I've just changed. So I'm leaving it as Autotext. It was in wills. There's my template. This is going to have the same effect as trying to save a file as the same name of a file that already exists. It's asking me, do you want to redefine that building block entry? Yes, I do. So it has now replaced the contents of what was previously the Renton phrase with the new wording. And if I now type in the name of the phrase and bring it in, you can see it is bringing in my new version, not the original version. The last thing I'll show you is this building blocks organizer feature, which you can get to from that quick parts drop-down menu. And building blocks organizer allows you to edit some of the properties of those quick parts and Autotext. It also lets you delete them. So if, for example, I decided that I wanted to get rid of some of my saved phrases, this is where I would go to get rid of them. Something to notice, you are going to want to sort by gallery. So I would click on that word gallery, because I can then see everything I have created will be appearing in the Autotext gallery. You'll notice there are a lot of other galleries. These are built-in Word functions. You notice the category is built in. You don't want to delete those, or you will find things like your page number formats and some of the footers and your table of contents information suddenly goes away. So the only galleries that you want to work with are Autotext and Quick Parts. Those are the ones that you have defined, and you can see these are the categories that I've created. I created wills. So if I want to delete my Autotext wills that says, let's see, which one do I want? This one here, Renton. I would click on it, and I would click delete. Yes, I want to delete it. It's now gone. It's gone from this document. It's gone from the template. So I will not be able to retrieve that information. I would have to resave it. If I wanted to make some changes, I've got something called will intro. I could edit the properties. What this edit properties does is brings me back in to that building block screen where I could change the name. Maybe I don't want to call it will intro. That's taking too long to type. I might shorten that to something else, or I might change it to a different category. I would make those changes here, save it, and those changes would now be reflected in the building block category. I could also choose to actually insert the text from this screen. So if I wanted to insert this will intro, I would just click insert, and it has inserted that text into my document. I hope you enjoyed this week's video on transcribing tips. Thanks for watching.